Damn you, Wikipedia.
Welcome back to Scott Looks at His Phone, the series.
I'm trying to find information. I'm trying to make sure that we are accurate.
We don't need information. We need opinions. Today, we're going to have opinions on the Pokemon movie, Pokemon Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yep, that's the title.
Yep, this is the story of Ass Ketchup, a young boy who roams the world with his two best friends, not Brock and not Misty. They're followed behind by the infamous Team Cameo, trio of ghosts who are cursed to not be able to interact with the living or affect the plot in any way.
They're stuck as observers for the rest of their damned days.
Yes.
The Watchers, we call them.
I call them Statler and Waldorf.
And along his way, he is
their
challenged by his rival, not Gary Oak.
Accurate.
The heart of evil, in fact.
Yes. As he searches for the three legendary mustaches. Grant, you actually know what you're talking about. What's this movie about?
Okay, so Pokemon I Choose You, the 20th movie, is about Ash Ketchum. It shows the beginning of his adventures and basically gives us a little bit of an expansion on this little birdie here, Ho-Oh, and why Ash seeing it at the beginning of his journey was important. Though I guess not canonically because it has nothing to do with the actual anime. This is a self-contained movie. If you're wondering where Brock, Misty, May, Max, Serena, I'm already forgetting his other
Joey,
companions.
Grant, is that a thoot?
A thoot?
That ho-oh over there?
Oh, thank you. Are there two H's in it? So Ash gets Pikachu after waking up late and well, actually, let me take us back a little bit. So we kick off Ash watching TV as he starts all of his adventures, watching a big battle on television. Quick, cool Easter egg cameo appearances. The two trainers who are fighting are Corey and Nisha from the Pokemon the first movie, the kid with the Venusaur and the girl with the Blastoise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We had Brute Root and Shell Shock. We got to see them fighting right in front of us, which it was just a real brief shot, and I really appreciated that as a longtime Pokemon fan. Ash wakes up late as he always does, comes in, tries to get Squirtle from Professor Oak. Professor Oak's like, oh, the early bird catches Pokemon, or whatever the hell he says. And he's like, well, all right, I guess I'll go with my second choice, which, God, that would be fucking terrible to know as the Pokemon. Be like, well, I guess I was his second choice. Bulbasaur. And then Oak's like, well, we don't really have that one either. It's like, I guess I'll go with what you got left. Charmander. And Professor Oak's like, well, that one's also already been taken.
You'd think he could have opened with, hey, kid, here's what I got left.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
He made him go through all three of those.
It was to drive it real deep in there. It's like, nah, kid, you should wake up, you know?
I also like that they finally showed us that it's revealed later in the anime that this is how it went, but that Gary was the first one there, and he was the one who got to get Squirtle, who was apparently the most coveted starter. And as Ash is, like, well, do I just get to leave without a Pokemon? Do I get to be the one kid who goes out in the tall grass with no Pokemon? So we have an example to point to when every other trainer tries to do it and a professor stops them.
Does he have to just like try and punch Caterpies until he weakens one enough?
More on that later. He eventually tries to throw a rock at a Pidgey to catch it, which seems pretty brutal in retrospect. But Professor
and sicking one of his animals on it to beat the shit out of it isn't?
We have organized rules. And
I didn't realize the Wild also had these rules, too.
Apparently. The anime is very wishy-washy on it because they kind of act like, do you want to come with me? And that's what lets them get captured. It's them relenting and accepting their fate. But anyways, Professor Oak is like, well, I got one more Pokemon left, but there's something wrong with it, so I don't know if you want it. And Ash has the greatest line, which is, well, I got here late, so there's obviously something wrong with me. Like, just give it to me.
I think that's cute. Actually, I really like that line because he's like, hey, we all got problems.
Yeah.
We're all broken.
You know what? We're all in God's grand scale of mistakes. So you know what? Let's just give it to me. And so Ash is introduced to Pikachu, who hilariously shocks him multiple times and refuses to get in his Pokeball. And they basically give you the abridged version of the first episode where Ash is like, hey, please get in the Pokeball. No. All right, well, I'm just going to drag you along with this rope, and then I'm going to eventually take off the rope as a sign of trust. And then we're going to get attacked by Spearow, who will try to murder us, and you'll save my life after I show that I want to die for you. And that's how our friendship is forged.
And that part, I loved.
Oh yeah, that was great.
yeah.
That part was great. I really enjoyed the animation for like just seeing. It was they knew exactly what they were doing, playing to that nostalgia, and every newly animated scene looked awesome. A lot of really, there must have been some guest animators for this thing. Like there was a lot of really
the movies
cool shit.
have consistently looked good. Like,
Yeah,
I
have you
can,
seen-
I can
I
say if you haven't checked out the Pokemon movies, they are always like very well animated. They definitely dump money in that animation budget, and it shows.
It was kind of interesting because when the first Pokemon movie came out with Mewtwo, they didn't have any CG almost at all in the original Japanese version of that film. Mm-hmm. The American version was like, no, we're going to add CG,
did
we're going to add extra stuff, we're going to make it look even better.
So that's where those giant dewback lizards came from.
Well, the interesting thing is, then the Japanese were like, oh, wow, you made our film look even better. So after that, you'll notice that the amount of CG that these movies started using took a huge
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the
steep, like,
second one,
skyrockets.
2000, has the CG ship.
that looks it is so
So
terrible
bad.
looking. But no, the CG of these films has gotten way better, and the animation in this film, like, just to get that out of the way, top notch. This is like how the best Pokemon just looks in
Has
general.
looked in a while.
So continuing with the story, there's then a montage, which might have been my favorite scene in the whole thing, of just traveling around with Pikachu, fighting dudes, getting stronger, getting badges. And
All to the tune of a remixed version of the original opening.
Yep.
Which was
Yep.
cool. I appreciated that.
And was it your favorite part because the characters weren't talking through the entire film?
and because things happened very quickly, and it gave a great sense of this journey, which I'm probably the least Pokemon adjacent person at this table. And so for me, who has not seen all this a million times, it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, Pokemon Generations had a lot of that.
Yeah.
Pokemon Generations.
Oh, yeah.
This movie felt like it was taking a lot from those specifically. This felt less like the show and more like that in a couple of ways. Although the overarching plot was Pokemon movie du jour.
Oh yeah, and
We'll
that
get
was
into
kind of
that.
the thing that I thought was going to be really rough going into this. Is this was a 20th anniversary celebration? It was supposed to be a big celebration over everything. And with Pokemon, you have 20 years of this. You have a kid who journeys like from country to country, seeing all the highlights, going to all the cool tourist spots. And I'm like, how are you supposed to celebrate all of that within a single movie? And they definitely kind of limit their scope to, you kind of mostly see just sort of Johto to made up places for the movie. And I feel like they strike a good balance with being very nostalgic, but also pulling in like, hey, here's this kid with a Lucario. This girl has a Piplup. This guy has an Incineroar. Like showing these things that are from newer things, but making them feel right at home with where they are. And not pointing out like, what's that new Pokemon?
Yeah.
Like it's just they kind of leave the groundwork to be like, everyone knows who these are.
Yeah,
this isn't some crazy new discovery that Ash is finding.
Ben's already pointed this out. They replace Ash and Misty. They're not even
Brock and
in
Misty.
the film at all.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not Ash and Misty, Brock and Misty. They replaced Brock with, what was it, Sorrel?
Sorrel and Verity.
Yeah, Verity.
Yeah. And completely, to be honest, they're not bad characters.
I liked them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually liked Verity more than I think almost any canon girlfriend Ash has had.
I like that she had a hint of a personality
Yes.
to her. Like
Actually-
less than just I'm instantly agreeable or I hate you.
Or I'm a tomboy.
Yeah, or I'm a tomboy.
Serenity is one of my favorites for a lot of reasons. But when we're talking about
Well, that's my favorite movie. How do you feel about Verity?
But Verity, it's kind of interesting because right now Ash has a harem in the show.
Yeah.
So it's in that weird place of like he's got a bunch of different girls there. Here though, it's we have the Brock, we have the Misty. How do you feel about the Sorrel? I thought it was Zorro. Whatever.
I think it's SORR like EL or something.
Yeah.
Like Sorrel.
Okay.
Yeah, he says it like twice. So.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like him because he's very no nonsense and he's very intelligent, very no nonsense, but he also felt a little flat.
He filled the Brock role in that he had to kind of be the adult. He was like, I know how to cook. I know how to make medicine for stuff. I have been studying. I am trying to be a doctor, so it was a really good quick excuse of like, oh, okay, so you know all of these grown-up skills that these two kids who are running around trying to be Pokemon trainers don't really know.
I appreciated that he was he explicitly says, I want to be a Pokemon professor, so to do that I need to know how to like heal them and do all this kind of thing. Like I appreciate seeing like the little finer works of that. That was cool.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Also, his reaction when like Ash comes in with that Charmander was so genuine. I was like, wow. Like it's good. One of the good things that this film does is it really carries over the emotional bond between people and their Pokemon.
So you kind of skipped over an important bit there. That Charmander belonging to our villain
Cross.
Yes, you can tell that his name is Cross because his bangs, his two forelocks, form a cross, blocking his vision. But inspirational,
making him look cool.
Yeah, disadvantaged person going through life with hair in front of his eyes. But no, so this is the guy who believes that strength is everything and friendship is bullshit.
Friendship makes your Pokemon weaker.
Yeah. Sharing makes us weak. Ayn Rand all up in this.
Well, actually, to pull it back even further, how Ash is introduced to his two new friends and eventually Cross is one trainer, while Ash is hanging out at a Pokemon Center, runs in with a damaged Vaporeon going, I found an Entei outside and it beat the hell out of my Pokemon. I thought we could take it.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, which
awesome.
I really like that idea of just like these community of children basically just going inside. I saw this big Pokemon. I tried to fight it. It beat me up. It didn't work. And so Ash and his friends, or his soon-to-be friends, catch wind of this, and they all have their own reasons for going like, well, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prove that I can catch that Entei.
They all book it to go fight this Entei.
Rather than hear this perilous story and like listen to it as a cautionary tale, they use it as so you're saying there's an Entei out there? Awesome, I'm on my way.
That's how I play the game, so it makes sense.
Oh,
I really like how it gave like sense to more game mechanics. I appreciated that for a lot of stuff. There's the roaming legendaries. Anybody could run into them. I just appreciated that.
And the three of them end up showing up trying to fight Entei. Entei wipes the floor with them because it is a legendary monster that no one has ever caught and seen.
It is hilarious that they're all like, I'm gonna fight Entei. It's like you're basically fighting a demigod of Pokemon.
Yeah.
What is your deal?
So they all get stomped. Ash and Verity, they see each other's skills in this battle and go like, well, hey, I can't catch Entei, but I might as well try and battle you and see if, I can prove that I'm at least better than you.
Yeah.
And Sorrel at the time is just like, well, it's about to rain, so I'm going to head out, and walks away, proving that he is both an adult and omniscient because it does in fact rain. Shortly after a chase scene that takes place. So they all meet up back at this cave where I'm skipping a step. They find the Charmander, who is waiting for its master, as it is wont to do, and they realize that it has been abandoned. It's starting to rain, so they're going to take Charmander into shelter, find a nearby cave where Sorrel happens to be hanging out, and he makes some medicine for it. And while they're waiting for Charmander to recover, Entei also shows up with a bunch of Pokemon, and they kind of have a temporary, it's Christmas, ceasefire, none of us are going to, no fights. We get it, it's raining, no one wants to deal with that, so we're just going to hang out in this cave and be all right with each other.
I love that scene.
Yeah, that's real good.
That was great. As a side note, I really love this. At that scene is when I noticed how much I love the sound design of the whole movie. I love how Entei's just feet sounded. It was just like bam, bam, bam. Like, they just had a really nice weight to everything, and there was a lot of cool ambience in the forest. Like, the rain sounded really cool. Seeing all like the little chitters of the tiny Pokemon following along, it felt really natural, almost like it felt really real. Like, okay, I could see a forest, and this is the sounds I would hear.
Yeah,
it's also really. And speaking of sound design. The movie goes out of its way a lot to even have when characters move just very slightly. Even their clothes have this rustling noise, and I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but
it really makes you feel like you're there.
Yeah, these characters are moving around, and that's important. So sound design. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to talk about that in a Pokemon movie. Good stuff.
Yeah, it was really good. Carried a lot of immersion for me.
So moving the story along a little bit. So. We did kind of skip over one big part. This was in the original show. After Ash saves Pikachu, Ho-Oh comes swinging on by.
Yes.
And drops a feather down. So Ash gets the feather.
Yes, a rainbow wing, as it is referred to throughout the film.
Yes.
And when he holds it up and Sorrel sees this, and that's when he drops, I've been studying legendary Pokemon. That's kind of like, I'm going to be a Pokemon professor, and apparently that's like my major,
that's his degree.
My focus is on legendary Pokemon, and only the Rainbow Hero can get the Rainbow Wing when it is judged as, worthy by Ho-Oh. So that's apparently how Ash gets it, and it's like if it interacts with the heart of evil, the rainbow will lose its color, and bad things happen.
So stay away from that no good heart of evil. That's no good. You don't
Also,
want
by the
people
way,
fighting.
Entei, Raikou, and Suicune were all brought back to life by the same Ho-Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, that's a part of Pokemon lore. It's been there for a
that's-
while. To see that in the movie was so cool.
Yeah,
that sequence was wonderfully animated. That was really cool.
Yeah, like actually one of the Pokemon Generations talked about that. And so Pokemon Generations being a series of shorts that the
Yes.
Pokemon Company made that were completely unrelated to the show. Like they're all based primarily off the games and the game stories and the game's characters. No Ash, none of that stuff. But here, it talks about the creation of Raikou, Suicune, and Entei from Ho-Oh, like resurrecting these Pokemon who die in a fire.
Yeah. Lightning strikes this tower, a fire, which spreads a fire, which burns it down, killing 3 Pokemon in the process. Then rain comes and extinguishes the fire. Ho-Oh brings back these 3 dead Pokemon as Raikou to represent the lightning that struck the tower, Entei to represent the fire that burned the tower down, and Suicune to represent the rain that put out the fire. So they are just now 3 living embodiments of nature. And that just kind of gives this introduction and kind of gives you an idea of like, oh, so everything's all connected and that kind of thing.
Which is really cool. I was like, cool.
Also drops the Chekhov's gun that Ho-Oh can straight up raise the dead.
Yeah.
Might become important later.
Maybe a little bit.
Chekhov's magic phoenix bird.
Yep.
But yeah, so they hang out in the cave. Storm eventually passes. Entei has vanished in the night while they were all asleep. So they kind of go on their merry way, and as they are learning more about Ho-Oh, they kind of realize that, so Ash's destiny, if he's got this wing, is intertwined with Ho-Oh to have an encounter with him. And Sorrel and Verity both go like, well, I want to see Ho-Oh, so I guess I'm just going to stick with you and eventually see where this leads.
And they figure out where to go via like a GPS. By the way, no Pokedex in this film.
Yeah, which I thought was actually really surprising.
Yeah,
it's,
like-
it's not even mentioned. Like,
It wasn't until like near the end of the film where like Sorrel's using his phone, a GPS.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
Where's the Pokedex? So yeah, he's checking the phone and they find out where they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
So they're on a journey to like the Ryzen Mountain, I think it was.
Yeah, I was like Rising Mountains.
I think it started with a
Then there's the
T,
specific
Ty-
one that they
yeah,
use.
yeah.
which I thought was kind of a slight wasted opportunity to make it Mount Silver, where
I know,
like,
could have been Mount
where
Silver.
Red ends up in the games, and
But
there's all
isn't that
sorts
in
of
Johto?
stuff. It's between Kanto and Johto. It's the
Oh, that
dividing
would have been
line.
good then. Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for.
But either way, I think it's around this time. We already know that Cross is Charmander's ex-trainer, but Cross shows up again to challenge Ash to a battle and basically instill how villainous he is of just going like, nah, man, Pokemon are tools. We use them to get stronger. You just got to fight. Be tougher. Be better. I've got my 2 furry fandom representatives here with Midnight Lycanroc and Incineroar. Come at me. And Ash loses, which puts him down a dangerous path of thinking winning is important. What a
Yeah.
monster.
Well, more that victory is more important than like getting
friendship.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of interesting because I like the concept here. It's a little rushed.
It feels kind of rushed, and also I feel like it is made overly dramatic for what it is. Like I understand the idea of losing sight of friendship in in your competitive nature and how that's a problem, but equating that to the mythical like legend of the Heart of Evil seems like a bit of a leap.
Yeah, the Heart of Evil is depicted as now this is where like everybody is, drowning in each other's blood and, having crazy rampant Viking orgies all the
it was
time.
Basically the legend was like,
Yeah,
humans and Pokemon lived in harmony, then the Heart of Evil came and ruined everything.
That's only when the feather touches the heart of evil. As long as the feather's kept away from it, then
Yeah.
you're just kind of a dick when you have the heart of evil.
Yep.
Which
But-
we should also mention throughout this, we've seen this little weird shadowy Pokemon pop up in the background whenever people are talking about the Rainbow Wing, and no one ever seems to see it, or the classic anime, they look back just as it disappears.
Yeah.
And there's just no mention of it, but we frequently see Marshadow just poking his head up, and
Spoilers.
he'll become important later. Well, if you know Pokemon, you
Yeah.
recognize
I'm
that on
just joking.
sight.
But can we talk about Marshadow? a bit. Or do you want to do the whole story first?
I mean, I don't know. Seems that we're going through a list here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, because here's the weird thing that happens right now as Ash is embracing the power of being
Wanting
a dick
to
to your
win.
friends and wanting to win. Marshadow sends him to sleep, and he has this really bizarre, surreal dream sequence.
It's
I
awesome.
loved it.
It's so good.
It's Ash in a world where Pokemon doesn't exist.
And specifically a world where instead of Pokemon there is science, because he is in a classroom and he's learning. So he's learned that he has to Ho-Oh is where the rainbow ends, and that's how they figured out where they had to go. And he's specifically in a classroom learning how rainbows are caused by refracted light in the atmosphere. So Ash is trapped in this horrible hellscape where the universe is governed by natural laws that can be discovered through deductive reasoning instead of course, a magical world where stuff just happens for no reason.
He's hanging out on that Japanese school rooftop, looking out the fence, and Verity and Sorrel are there. They're just like, so what? You aren't sick of this view? Come on, man. We got to go back to class or whatever. And Ash, being the wanderlust boy that he is just like, you ever wonder what's out there? What's past what we can see? And, Sorrel comes in with obviously it's more forest and probably another town. Then eventually we'd hit the ocean. And Ash is like, what's past that? Like, I guess probably more ocean, probably another country.
I mean, I got Google Maps right here, my dude. We can find this out. It is the year of our Lord 2017.
One of those things where it's always a fun thing to say, but, in this modern world we live in, it is a meaningless concept of, what's that way? Well, we can pretty easily tell you.
By the way, I'd like to point out something you mentioned. This is the most Japanese I felt Pokemon's been in a long time, because beyond just the story about the 3 legendary dogs, which took place very much in a Japanese-style, tall building.
Pagoda.
Yeah, that pagoda. Secondarily, that is a Japanese high school.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything about that high school, that school they're in, is Japanese. And I was just sitting back bold move on their part, because one thing that Pokemon has tried to do is become completely
region free.
Yeah. So I thought that was, I don't know. I thought that was neat. Just wanted to point that out. A lot of Japanese imagery going on in this film.
I appreciate that Ho-Oh in this universe brought all the spirits back as different Hummers.
Yes, that was the other fun note in this world without Pokemon. We basically get to see Ash in his room in this Pokemonless universe, and the classic poster that he has with Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur on it is instead replaced by 3 trucks, 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green. It's like I was waiting for Ash to not go to Pokemon school, but instead to be
He's gonna be
working to be a mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the exact same thought.
Yeah.
It's like,
And this is how you change your oil. Make sure to catch the transmission fluid that will.
everyone's determined by races here. We take our 2 things that we both worked on and we compete with them.
Did you complete the Pewter City cycle,
Circuit?
circuit. That's the word. The Pewter City circuit. Did you get your badge?
I was hoping for some of that, but we quickly get snapped out when he realizes that, oh man, I had a friend. I had that one guy out there.
There's that little yellow blur that always reminded me to keep on trucking.
Great imagery, by the way.
Yeah, it was cool.
I love the use of illusionary imagery in this film.
Yeah.
Also, it leads into one of the best lines in the entire film, where Ash is like,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
in a world without Pokemon. Wow, that sounds terrible. I just fucking kill myself.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, how awful.
It was really on the nose, telling their target audience very directly, hey, your life is bullshit when you're not playing Pokemon.
Oh,
It's worked on me, because anytime the question is asked, if you could live in any fantasy world, what would, Pokemon is always not even a second thought.
And Grant, that's why you're here today.
Exactly. And I think it's after this that we kind of get some background on Ash's new friends, where Verity explains that her journey is her mom was a fantastic Pokemon trainer, and nothing she ever did seemed good enough for her. So she is traveling the world to try and prove to herself and to her mom that she's worth it, that she matters. And Sorrel kind of brings up well, I'm sure she'd be proud of what you're doing. Meanwhile, his thing is, for a long time, I couldn't get along with Pokemon because I got in a snowboarding accident or something, and a Pokemon died sheltering me from the cold. And ever since then, I realized life is fleeting, and if I love anything, it will die. So it wasn't until I met my friend Lucario here that I was able to trust again.
And by the way, this is told in a flashback?
Yeah, you
see
that corpse.
That Pokemon freezes to death protecting this small child.
Yeah, and it's not just like, oh, we get it here. Like, you
Like,
see the
implied.
paramedics rushing him off, like, get out of here, kid.
Yeah, it is. I actually teared up at that part, and I did not see that coming.
Yeah, no, that was
like
that was rough.
Yeah,
They-
I'm pretty sure there was a kid in the back who lost it.
Aw.
Because that they don't mince words. Well, with that is just you see a dead Pokemon on the screen.
Yeah, they still apply the rule of never say die, never say
yeah,
kill.
yeah. They do not say
but
dead.
At that point in the film, we have 4 confirmed Pokemon deaths. So
Yeah. Well, only one of which sticks.
true. Speaking of death not sticking, well, we'll get there. So
I think next is the Butterfree.
Oh,
bit,
yeah.
Which felt very rushed and kind of just, hey, in case your nostalgia boner isn't big enough, we're gonna throw this one extra thing at you.
Yeah, there's stuff with the Primates too, which is not a nice throwback. But that's how we get Butterfree, who, yay, it's Butterfree, fantastic. He was a huge part of the original series, and so was his send-off, so it's gotta be here.
I was really hoping, because they show like that pink Butterfree. You see like the whole setup is still there. The pink Butterfree shows up, and you're like, oh man, I can tell they really want to hang out. And then the scene cuts.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, are we just skipping that? Like,
Yeah, like that's what I thought. And I was like, I really hope they don't cheaply try to recreate the Butterfree send-off. They do. And I thought it was pretty weak.
Yeah,
I
it
agree.
felt very just forced in there to be like, hey, remember this? And
Well, it was supposed, so one of the things about this film is that it's Ash's greatest hits.
yeah.
Like from the original series. And it accomplishes that in some areas. And with the Butterfree, it's like, oh man, why did you even bother having Butterfree in this film?
Yeah.
Like it teaches him a lesson. Like sometimes, if you love something, you have to set it free. And
Yeah.
what better way to do that with an actual butterfly? But I don't know. I agree. It was clunky. It was rushed. And at the end of the day, I think they could have done something more original, something more interesting, without having to remake that specific scene.
I feel like they
Well-
could have done more with Caterpie and Metapod, like on its way to becoming a Butterfree, like in
Yeah,
the interim.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because during the montage, we do see a brief sequence of like Ash, Caterpie, and Pikachu hanging out, and they see Butterfree flying by, and like Pikachu like looks at Caterpie and like flaps its wings, like showing like that's gonna be you someday, and like that's like a cute, very quick thing. But then we kind of forget Ash even has Caterpie for like a while after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it hardly does anything. It fights with a pincer, which gets it to evolve into a Metapod. Then they are attacked by Primate, which it string shots them, and that lets it be a Butterfree. But these all feel like really quick, inconsequential. Like, oh, by the way, I also have this Caterpie. That's Pikachu and Charmander aren't the only Pokemon I have.
Although I do like that scene where Ash is like, I don't care if it's getting away. My Caterpie evolved. This is better than a victory. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's nice.
So, Scott, a second ago, you said you wanted them to do something more original. Do you, though? Because then we get into the third act, the ending, which, as far as I could tell, was all original for this movie. Am I right about that?
Yes, it was.
Well, I mean, unless you count the first movie.
They do essentially rehash the third act of the first movie.
Yeah.
With a conflict strikes. Ash gets to the end of the rainbow. We meet a strange old man who just happens to be a bit more knowledgeable than Sorrel on the whole Ho-Oh thing. I was waiting for the big reveal that it was Ash's dad or some crazy thing, but that never happened.
By the way, I love that old man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is probably a good point to say, hey, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the movie, we're going to talk about the ending here.
Oh, yeah. So this is where it's movie original stuff 100%.
Yeah.
And there are some things that happen in this part of the movie that are both surprising and maybe not good. But yeah.
So they climb the highest mountain where everything's rainbow stones, I guess. They meet
Yes.
they meet the man with the greatest beard.
Yes.
This
The king of the mustache dogs.
this dwarven hermit guy who's like
I can't even remember if they gave him a name. I don't
Bonji.
remember if they did.
Yeah.
Bungie, yeah.
Oh, okay.
he apparently wrote the book that Sorrel's learned all his Pokemon wisdom from, and he's up here knowing that Ho-Ho's going to show up someday. And then he does, because Ash is the chosen one, and he's got the magic feather.
The Rainbow Hero.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that name, I don't know if that sounded better in Japanese. I don't think
Yeah,
it
I
did.
didn't know.
The Rainbow Hero thing was the absolute worst part of this film.
Scott,
Like,
you're my rainbow hero.
I try.
They could have called him like the hero, chosen one, all sorts of different things.
But it's all about rainbows.
I guess we are celebrating Pokemon's 20-year history and its rainbow of games, I guess. But so Ash and Co get there. They are told like, well, hey, you got to place the rainbow wing on the top of that rock, and that's when Ho-Oh is going to show up, and you can, I guess, fight him if you want. They don't really make it clear why Ho-Oh shows up for you. It's just that he does.
Yeah.
And that's when Cross intervenes and shows up from the shadows going like, I beat you in a Pokemon battle. If anyone deserves to hang out with Ho-Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
And grabs that rainbow wing, and it goes from its lustrous rainbow color to a dark, evil purple.
Well, after they battle.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
They
There's
fight for a
a
little
really good battle there.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I
right.
don't like.
I don't wanna skip
I do
on
want
that.
to point out the great parts of this film, and some of the battles are just really good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and one of the cool parts is, although it was weird. So in the first battle, he brings out Charmander, or was it Charmeleon? He
It's
brings out
Charmeleon
at that point.
And I can only wonder what Charmeleon's thinking the first time he sees Cross. Like, oh, you threw me.
Come on, man. You're throwing me in against this?
You didn't even warn me. You didn't like pull me out and say, "Hey, do you want to fight him?" No, it's just go in and fight the guy who raised me. Whatever.
Yeah.
No, but
Don't think I'm going to have a little bit of emotional trauma over this, Ash? Aren't you being a little selfish?
and not to mention, Charmeleon gets destroyed.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
bad beating.
Yeah.
Because
And the-
Ash is saying use flamethrower and it doesn't know it or can't do it. That's pretty fun.
Well, I think it was out of PP. Like that was the idea, is that it didn't have the Pokemon
okay.
points
Yeah,
anymore.
because he had just fought right before
okay.
that initial encounter.
So funny enough, I lied to the idea. It's like, no, he literally can't do that move anymore, and Ash just keeps trying to do it. But here, this is the first time we've seen Charmeleon since that fight, and he's just coming back out and is like, hey man, we're gonna do it again.
Rematch.
Let's run that one back.
But this time, Ash isn't a terrible trainer and wins. And it's a great fight.
And it triggers Charmeleon's evolution
Yes.
to get to Charizard, which everyone was waiting for.
And we do get another one of Ash's big moments with Charizard with the seismic toss.
Yeah.
Which I was totally cool with
Yeah,
because,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Which I forgot to mention it earlier when they were fighting previously. Charmeleon used Seismic Toss, and I thought that was really cool to show that Charmeleon could do it too. Like it wasn't a Charizard exclusive move.
Also, using it on Incineroar was so cool. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy crap, swinging that big ass cat around.
I do have to admit, even though from the lore, I did know that Incineroar's like fire comes from its belt, but that was really weird looking
yeah,
in
I
a
know,
couple
seeing him
scenes
just
where he just kind of
shoot
does
it
a
out.
pelvic thrust and
Oh, yeah.
fire shoots
Yeah,
out. I was like,
yeah,
that's doing some favors for someone in the audience.
My husband saw him use flamethrower for the first time in the games and laughed so hard because it's worse in the games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like he's just ejaculating fire. Also, although I've never seen Flame Bite.
Oh, Fire Fang?
Fire Fang,
Whoa.
yeah.
Fire Fang,
It's
Fire Fang.
not actually their teeth.
Yeah, that was cool. I thought
Yeah,
that was
I
a great
like that.
It's
effect.
just two pillars of fire that basically chomp down.
But so yeah, Ash wins this battle against Cross, and Cross is a little, what would you say, upset about it, a little frustrated, a little,
Yeah, he's a sore loser.
yeah. And so and a move that I'm just still kind of amazed nobody tried to stop him, takes the feather from Ash and crawls up the rock and sticks the feather
Well,
in.
I feel like they initially try to stop him, but his Lycanroc is there, and he just kind of pushes people back.
Oh yeah, no, the Lycanroc does kind of turn around like, make a move, bitches. I don't give a fuck.
Come on,
I'll
get
cut your ass.
I'm a Pokemon.
Yeah,
Might have been able to knock out a human who would have stopped you, but me, nuh-uh.
yeah, and shit goes crazy.
Yeah, things go down as the Heart of Evil, which lives in Cross, infects the Rainbow Wing.
I feel like the Heart of Evil is a very easy thing to have.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, if you abandon your Pokemon, you might actually be as bad as any other war criminal.
To be fair, like
he is
he
awful.
yeah, he's a terrible guy.
He kicks that Charmander while he's down.
I know. Yeah, he's awful. I appreciate it, but I'm just like, man, this 14-year-old kid is
I feel like
deemed
that's stuff
as good
they-
as Satan.
They threw in the movie because they wouldn't be able to do that in the show, where it's just like, it's not just he's like a dick to Charmander, like Charmander like comes up and he just kicks it. And it's just
Yeah.
like, whoo.
There's a trope for that. It's called kick the dog.
And it's great because that happens, and it just cuts back to everyone else who was initially like, "Hey, it's your trainer. You can go back to him. Yay!" And that's when they realize, like, "Oh no, we've stumbled into an abuse situation."
Yeah, see, this is why Michael Vick doesn't get a rainbow feather.
So this is when the evil comes out of the now no longer rainbow feather, and Marshadow shows up, and I feel like they were kind of nebulous. Like, is Marshadow just actually evil?
Yeah, because Bungie refers to him as like a guide.
Yeah.
And he gave Ash that weird dream sequence, but like, was that him trying to turn Ash, or was that him like warning him, like, no, don't go down this path, dude?
I felt like it was him trying to get him back.
Yeah.
I thought it's like, you're the rainbow hero. You have to stay on track.
I got the entirely different impression. I thought because every time Ash was like, victory is what matters, Marshadow pops out. He looks back at Pikachu, turns back and goes, yeah, and then Marshadow pops out of his shadow and he just keeps going on.
Hey, maybe Marshadow's entire point is, no, you have to earn this. I'm gonna tempt you, and I'm gonna try and ruin you. And unless you're like Ash Ketchum, God among Pokemon,
Okay, so
you will
The
fail.
sinless one.
Marshadow is Pokemon Satan. Got it.
Yeah, tempt him enough.
It's kind of funny that Ash is the one who has like these temptations and these problems of like, you know, being like, oh, maybe winning is more important than friendship. Meanwhile, Sorrel's over there devoting his life to finding legendary Pokemon and being like, no, Ash, stay the course. Like, we have to learn from our mistakes. And he never gets to be the rainbow hero or anything. Apparently he wasn't worthy.
Yeah, no, that was one thing that bothered me, is that his companions were obviously more knowledgeable about how to be good human beings. And neither of them got chosen. I guess it's really all about potential, but
I think it's potential in a place and time thing. Like, Ash just happened to nearly sacrifice himself for someone else while Ho-Oh was watching, and that's what got him the rainbow wing.
yeah. Marshadow is like, kill them all. Just literally takes all the Pokemon in the area and is like, kill all of them. And it's really fucking like, oh, wow, all these kids might die.
Yeah.
Like, these kids are probably going to get eaten by a bunch of Pokemon. This is crazy.
Now, you say might. Ash straight up dies, as
Yeah.
far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And a scene that is so good. Like, I'm really, like, I like cyclical stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when it's done well. And here, during this moment where all these Pokemon are about to blow up Ash, who's trying to save
Ash
Pikachu.
and Pikachu,
Yeah. Pikachu does what he did in the first part of the first third of the film, where he jumps over Ash's shoulder to take the hit, but Ash is like, and grabs
I've
him
seen this.
Yeah, I like that.
and dies. And of course, it's Pokemon death. So instead of just like a corpse dead, it's a body, but it starts to fade away,
Yeah,
and
like
it's all
Jedi
magical.
style.
Yeah, and it's. I wouldn't say it's about as. Oh wait, did we skip over a part? I think we skipped over a part.
Does this happen before he
I'm
dies?
pretty sure this happens before the death.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it? I thought it was after.
What it happens during that big climax.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
okay. That's
great.
filling some puzzle pieces in my brain because I'm
Okay.
like, I remember feeling like this moment didn't feel earned, and now I'm remembering this is why, because it takes away all
That's
the credibility.
right.
For the sake of the audience, Grant, tell us what we're all talking about
This is
here.
okay. This is the most spoilery part, by the way, because no one saw this coming.
So, Ash, while all these Pokemon are staring them down, getting ready to murder him and Pikachu, he pulls out Pikachu's Pokeball again and goes, "Look, I know you hate being in this thing. I need you to go in here." And it's like a really touching, like, emotional thing of just like, you're going to die if you don't go in here. Like, I need you to do this for me. Like, I understand you hate it.
And
Pikachu pushes it away. Pikachu pushes it away, refuses, and Ash is like, just in desperation, why won't you do it? Why won't you get in your Pokeball? And Pikachu, you hear Pika for a little bit, but then it suddenly transitions to human English, and Pikachu goes, "Because I can't leave your side, or because I don't want to be without, like, I can't."
Because I always want to be right by you, like by your side, or whatever the fuck. I'm Pikachu, shouldn't be fucking saying
Kieran,
anything.
I did not know that you were the voice of Pikachu.
You're-
But that was exactly,
I
you
know.
nailed it.
Thank you.
And it's just
I'm
one of those things
honored.
where maybe in the original Japanese, if the voice actress for Pikachu got to say those lines, it might have somehow sounded better, though I doubt
think
it.
I probably did.
But it did not work for me when that
No,
happened.
there were so many people in the theater that started going, "What?"
Yeah,
like audible gasps and laughter.
Yeah,
When
Yeah.
that
Jarring.
that for a moment that I thought they were actually setting up really well, and like you said, they did a very good job with the cyclical nature of it, of Ash being like saying the exact same things of like, "Hey, I'm Ash Ketchum, and one of these days I'm gonna capture all of you. I'm going to be the best. You don't know who you are messing with. Like, just kind of giving this speech.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is cool. I'm good. I like what they're doing here. But then they ruin all of it by having Pikachu speak. And not only does he speak, he says possibly the cheesiest freaking thing he could have ever said.
Because obviously, when it came to the lip laps for this scene, it's like, oh no. One of the worst parts in in anime is when they have like stilted speech for the Japanese, like in the Japanese language. Because one, it works way better in the Japanese language, and two, due to the sentence structure being way different, like, it is impossible to make it sound as smooth and
to be even
have
as
the right
close as possible.
Yeah,
impactful
and
as
so
it would have
the
been.
dialogue one is bad. Two, the concept is worse, and three, that is not Pikachu's voice.
I know, the voice
So-
is so jarring.
Yeah, it is, and
And it really, really kind of ruins the impact of what was otherwise, I thought, a pretty good scene and setup. And that's when Ash gets blown to smithereens and blasted by, I think Marshadow just shot a big energy blast at him. I couldn't
And
remember.
that was all the Pokemon.
Oh, was it? Was it
Yeah,
the
it was
combined one?
all the
Okay.
Pokemon blow up Ash, and then now we have Ash, who is in monochrome, stuck in some other dimension.
but basically just rehashing the same scene from the earlier part of the film where he's in this. Basically, the oh god, what was it?
The Upside Down?
Yeah, he's in the Upside Down.
Because he can see stuff from the real world, but they can't see him.
Yeah.
And he can't even see them. He can only see the world. He can't even see other people.
Yeah, that's right.
And through the power of love and a literal phoenix down, he comes back to life.
He outruns death.
Yep.
Like, I can't. You're underselling how ridiculous this is. Where Pikachu is sitting there holding Ash's hat, going, Pika,
Crying.
Pika! And then Ash is going, no, there's someone there. Someone I remember. I always love running like this. Yeah, and then Pikachu looks up and there's like this glowing silhouette of rainbow fluorescence. Oh my god, who is it? It's Ash, he's coming. He's outrunning death itself. I am Ash Christ, your rainbow hero.
I do really like that as he's running down that empty field, he says something along the lines of, I remember this. We used to always do this. Which I think is just hilarious that that's confirming that in every anime opening when you see characters running in an open field. That's
Actually
something they
happening.
actively do. That they have a memory of and is important to them as a lifestyle choice.
By the way, the reason that it is impossible for me to get all that like amazed by this is that it's already happened once. He has already died.
To be fair, we
and
have
been
seen
brought-
him die and come back from the dead, but this is the time that, as Karen's pointing out, we do literally see him outrunning the light you're supposed to walk to at the end of your life.
Because the thing is, when he dies in the other stuff, he turns into stone. He doesn't actually die. Like, he is gone. Ash is gone. And then he runs and I've returned from the dead dimension. I can outrun death. Like, that is with Pikachu talking and with that right after, I just instantly punched out and I was like, I'm here to laugh for the rest of this time.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they tried to have the emotional and over-the-top ending, and the over-the-top just way knocked the emotional side out of the park. Like, it's just like, no, get away. Like, this is all for silly.
I'd still like to think that in the Japanese version, with the actual voice of Pikachu, it might have been better.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it'd be better.
I'm saying, like, it's a stretch. I could see it, but I still kind of doubt it.
Also, you know what would have made that whole scene way, way better? Good music.
Yeah.
I've held off this entire movie. Okay, let's finish up the movie, and then I've got a diatribe to go on.
Sure.
Same.
Okay.
So after Ash is miraculously brought back from the dead, Ho-Oh shows up as it was promised because the Rainbow Wing restores itself. Cross has learned his lesson and feels all bad and is sitting by himself, realizing he's made a mistake. Ho-Oh shows up and Ash is like, all right, Pikachu, let's battle this creature that just brought me back from the dead. I think we stand a chance. And the camera pans out. We just see like flashes of light. We don't really get to know the result of their battle. But the next scene is Ash and friends at a Pokemon Center, bringing Pikachu, and Nurse Joy's like, oh, it looks like it's gotten roughed up in a good fight, but like, not in a you're abusing your Pokemon way, but in a, oh, this looks like a league sanctioned fight. So we're not upset about you bringing in this damaged animal. And it's like, so what'd you battle? What's the story? And Ash's like, oh, I fought Ho-Oh. And Nurse Joy just has "That's nice," which I thought
Yeah,
was
that
really
was
good.
great.
Just like, you crazy kid. And then, kind of has the wait, what moment after that, and they all laugh and credits.
Yeah.
I think
There's something after where they all like part ways.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
everyone-
they all walk their own road
Yeah.
that leads to a different
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, they all have their 3 roads that lead to 3 different countries, and set off on their merry way. I think Team Rocket has another scene where they get thrown out again. Because, by the way, they kept showing up. And
Yeah, we haven't mentioned them the entire movie.
Because
Yes.
they have nothing to do with
the movie
anything.
doesn't
Yeah.
No,
care.
like I love what you said. They were dead the whole time.
Yep.
yeah, they're ghosts that
Like-
don't get to interact with anything or have any. say
Hello
on the
didn't give a
plot.
shit to bring him back.
The only time.
Nurse Joy's the only one who sees them, and she might just be crazy.
Yeah. And there was one more point. And in the ending credits, which is kind of nice, they actually show all of his companions.
Yes.
I don't know if did they show Misty or Brock there?
They did. They
Okay.
definitely showed Brock. I think I might have been like talking to someone or looking away when Misty showed up.
Me too.
But they definitely showed Brock, and I would be shocked if they didn't show Misty. But then they go through everybody.
So okay. I got something I gotta say here because
Yeah.
I've been sitting on the whole movie. Oh my god.
It's a drum I've been banging for years, but you go ahead.
Okay, so Pokemon has always been one of those dubs. The ones from the 90s and the late 80s where they replaced all of the music, they changed a lot of the script, they censored stuff, they edited stuff.
It's okay, Scott. Have a donut.
By the way, when I do my Saturday morning sushi for Pokemon, you better bet it's going to be Saturday morning donut. So this film, in the original Japanese version, has reorchestrated, remixed, and redone music all from the original Pokemon series. And it's all replaced here. Every single piece of music, save for the last piece of music.
Yes.
The very last,
The
which they knew they couldn't get out of there without using because
Yeah.
it's been in every movie. So I think they just have secured the rights to that track.
They replaced all of it. Now, 4Kids actually went a long way for all their music to sound very distinct to their version of Pokemon.
I have the dub soundtrack to the first movie because it's good.
Yeah. And they also had a habit of pushing in pop tunes, which I have mixed feelings on. One, I think it's lame and there's no reason to replace music. But on the other hand, it sold those movies for kids.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
kids dig that stuff. Like, do not
Digimon
undersell.
movie soundtrack, man. That's why I loved it.
Oh my God. I hate to say it, but yeah, me too. When I was a kid, having a real.
In America, whoa.
Oh.
No, man. Talking about 1 week, the
Yeah.
impression that I get, all good shit.
Yeah. But in this film, the Pokemon company, Pokemon International, used their own in-house score, and it is the most generic Mickey Mouse bullshit that I have heard in my life. There is no dub score out there that is less interesting than the music on presentation in this movie.
It could have been machine learning.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Just fed in some shit. And said, okay, compose for us.
like the closest thing to an actual piece of score that they have in the film is they have a leitmotif of the opening theme during that big emotional scene, and it's cool. It's a piano piece. I dug on that, but everything else is just whatever. You could have put anything there, and it would have been just as emotionally resonant.
I think there's like 4 trumpet notes that I think the Pokemon company probably refers to as Ash's theme because it would just happen anytime he has like a moment of like resolve, and it's just and you just hear that in
Yeah.
the background
And
it's
it's
just in various keys.
And it's really frustrating because the Pokemon International has been doing this for a while. Weirdly enough, during the the Pearl, was it the Diamond and Pearl stuff? Or was it Black and White? I can't remember. One of those. They actually started keeping all the music in the show.
Definitely wasn't Black and... Well, it might have been Diamond and Pearl, because... For me, a lot of the most egregious examples came from the X and Y series, where they replaced a lot of really good music with a lot of really generic stuff.
X and Y was the worst of it because there were some amazing tracks that we played during these huge battle scenes. Switch over to the dub, it's awful.
Yeah.
The scenes are killed by it.
It goes from being one of my favorite anime to borderline unwatchable because the music kills every bit of emotion in the scene.
Let me tell you, as somebody who has always ragged against Falconer's score for Dragon Ball Z, I'd have preferred that over this generic, boring shit that was in this film.
Because there's no emotion to it. It is
There's-
just
And meanwhile, I'm on the other end of the spectrum as someone who's usually apologetic for like dub scored like rehashes. As someone who was okay with the Faulkner score, I was like, this is awful and
Yeah.
egregious.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. And that's why I had to look at this film and think, how do the Japanese do this scene? It was probably a lot better. I'm just gonna imagine that's what's happening here, because the actual voice actors, they've been doing this literally longer than the first group has.
Yeah.
They've been like Sarah Nattercheny as Ash, and everyone else. I literally
I have
cannot.
gotten used to new Ash to the point of where, like, in my mind, I'm like, new Ash actually, I think, more convincingly sounds like a young boy.
Oh, yeah, and
whereas old Ash, while I'm still nostalgic for it and like it, I can't imagine that voice coming out of a human being boy's mouth.
Yeah, not to mention in Sun and Moon, she's perfect. Actually, I think she's doing a great job.
It helps that Ash is a different character now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But in Sun and Moon, like in terms of the actors, things are fine. Things are okay. Some of the script was a little wooden.
I was going to say, they range from okay to a little stilted in some scenes.
But it's like if the original music had been there, I feel like that I would have watched almost an entirely different film.
Yeah.
So I had to basically look at this film through a lens of, I'm missing something here, and then judge it on that criteria.
I would love to see some unofficial like project of we're going to keep the original score, but then swap in the dub voices and see how it works.
That's a possibility. A lot of Blu-ray releases have the 5-point digital.
Yeah.
So you might get that someday. I hope to God, because I would love to rewatch this film with the original score.
Yeah.
Because I heard some of it after I got home. Because I was like,
Oh, man.
I looked it up and I'm like, okay, so what did this score sound like before Pokemon International ruined it? I'm sorry. I'm gonna go out there.
Yeah.
This is bad, and I wish they'd stop. And a lot
It
of people don't talk about it. I'm going on record. I hope people quote me. Pokemon International is doing a very bad job with the replacement score, and I wish they'd stop.
Yes.
Because it ruins parts of this film.
It does.
So, like, that being said, I'm done. I'm done ragging on the score.
Is there anything else we want to cover before we move on to making final verdicts here?
Yeah.
I have one because I want to talk about Marshadow's inclusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this was the biggest sticking point for me, was Marshadow being there. This is a celebration of the 20th anniversary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of like, look at all these cool things that happened. Look at all this wonderful stuff. Hey, we got that new Pokemon coming out. You gotta get that code for that new Pokemon. Like
There was a card. We got a card.
Yes, we got a fucking card. Okay, like that was for Ash's Pikachu. However, Marshadow's like the big new thing you gotta get now. Gotta get a new Marshadow, new legendary. And I didn't like Marshadow. Like I felt he was a weak ass villain, like a weak ass ending. Like it was just okay. The Shadow thing that's been here, awesome dream sequence. Like
Yeah.
the best thing that come from Marshadow was that dream sequence there. But ultimately, the last battle, I couldn't give less of a shit about him. Oh, I gotta fight Marshadow, the guy of evil, who could be a guide or also bad. I don't know. We didn't pick a side of the fence.
Well, I
Yeah.
feel like if Marshadow was not in this like at all, and Ash just had that dream just as a happenstance of like his brain just mixing signals in his mind, and then at the end when the evil wing is placed on the rock or whatever, like. The guy even says these Pokemon are showing up because they want to be blessed by Ho-Oh. There are a bunch of Pokemon in the nearby area because they know Ho-Oh is coming and they want to get like some sort of blessing or power from it. Like and just having like the evil shoot out of the wing and possess
And
them
now possess them. Like, the
instead of
movie can be-
Marshadow
Exactly.
at all being there, it would have felt exactly the same, if not better, because it would not have had that weird like, hey, by the way, we got this new thing that we want you to know about.
Yeah, like you could erase Marshadow from this movie and it would be fine. And it just felt like they really banked on Marshadow being the cool thing for the third act. And I was like, eh.
I really would have been okay with Marshadow just being the guide.
Yeah, that would have been
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, but no, having it be the big bad of the third act was, I agree.
Yeah, it was
I
just
not
real.
Well,
a fan.
and it also
fight.
just-
I was like, I don't know, I don't care.
It muddied what I feel like they were going for with Marshadow being like the guide. Like I'm here to watch and make sure see how things go. I am not here to intervene in any way.
Yeah.
And then at the end it's like, and then it intervenes in a big way and does stuff. And it's like, oh, so I guess that's its job.
I'm kind of amazed Ho-Oh didn't come in and be like, by the way, you just blows up.
Just blast them. Because that's like my biggest problem is it just seems really inconsistent with what the fuck is Marshadow. And I don't think we get a definitive ending because they're like, oh no, the old man's like, oh, he washed it away. And it's because people can always change things, I guess. Old and young people go out and you can always change things.
Like I don't know if it's supposed to be like it contained the evil and the evil tainted it and made it go crazy or something like that.
Maybe
But
this
it's
was all just a fever dream caused by Marshadow, and that's why Pikachu spoke. There we go. Now it's fine.
Ashton in a coma. He's been in one this whole time.
No. I like to think that Ash is in a coma, and that one moment where he's back in reality is
That's-
trying to wake him up.
Our only peek into the real world.
Good. Then if that's how this movie works, then all right, I'm fine. Done. It's the best Pokemon movie.
I like to think that like he's this close to waking up from the coma, and then he goes back into
Ash,
it.
remember, we're your friends from school.
Here in Kanto, Japan.
Yeah, if that's the case, then this movie's great.
Well, now that we've written a better Pokemon movie, Kieran, did you like this movie?
Yes, I had fun with it, even though I think the third act absolutely fumbled it at 1 yard from touchdown. Would have been just absolutely dropped the ball and chucked it out of the stadium. It was still fun. I still really liked what I saw, but the middle is it's insufferably boring. Like, it started, I watched it with my girlfriend. We're both like, yeah, nostalgia. Oh my God, I'm so excited. 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
And that's just, I guess that's just how it goes when they do the original shit. Ultimately, it's a fun time. If you like Pokemon, you'll have a fun time with it. And even the stuff that we really hated, it's fun to see. And if seeing it with people in the theater and everyone going laughing or going what the fuck, that was a good time. So ultimately, if you like Pokemon, I recommend it. It's a fun time.
Scott, do you like this movie?
I don't usually like to publicly say that I want to fuck Pokemon, but actually, yeah, I 100% had things about this movie that totally made it worth a watch for me, more than a lot of the latest Pokemon films. I've actually watched a couple of them lately because I got really curious. X and Y is the best Pokemon series since the original, so I was curious about the films. Films were whatever; they were completely throwaway. But this one had a lot of emotional resonance, had some great scenes, neat characters, neat ideas. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, the middle act drags and the third act drops like a bunch of Pokeballs. So, but that being said, I like the movie and I would recommend it for Pokemon fans 100%.
Well, I can't say what Pokemon fans would like, but giving the perspective of the guy who's been kind of Pokemon adjacent for a long time, saw a fair amount of the early stuff in the anime when it was all Brock Misty every day. This didn't do much for me. I gotta be honest. It's, if you're looking for that Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods, hey, we're getting the band back together, get in the theaters, this is the grand, everything you loved, hit that nostalgia bone. Nope.
Yeah.
It is a clumsily told story with a lack of focus. But again, that is my perspective as a guy who's not super into Pokemon. If you want to know what you as a Pokemon fan would think, listen to these guys. They know better than I would. and especially Grant.
As the most Pokemon-obsessed person at the table, this movie had a lot of stuff for me that I could just see out of the periphery. I thought it was really cool that they slightly redesigned the pink Butterfree to be accurate to the female sprites in the game. Oh. They... like I said at the beginning, the two trainers were watching battle on TV were from the first movie. At the very end, there's a little montage of different locations Ash is going to. They're all locations in the different movies that you've seen before. There is a lot of fan service and Easter eggs hidden in this movie that I think are great. I'm sure there's tons of stuff I didn't notice. But yeah, just to repeat what these guys said, the middle drags pretty hard. There were moments where if I wasn't at an Alamo Draft House, I probably would have been looking at my phone at some spots. I was just all right, yeah, we got to go through this part where Ash has this little breakdown moment, and this part where everyone's but Ash, friendship. And the end with, we talked about with Pikachu talking and all that stuff really messed up the scene, and Marshadow felt kind of just forced in. But I know it sounds like I've got a lot of complaints, but I feel the sum of its parts for me as a Pokemon fan outshined all of my problems I had with it by a fairly wide margin. This is something that I haven't bought a Pokemon movie in a physical format or digital format in a while. I do intend to purchase this movie once it comes out, because I enjoyed it that much that I want to own it.
Yeah, I think you really hit it. That all the poignant moments, if you are a fan, you will appreciate all the really the fan servicey bits are pretty freaking good. And a lot of reimagined versions of things are just look awesome.
I also like that the one gym battle we see Ash doing is the Celadon City gym, which is the one he most infamously ducked out of.
Yeah.
He had no right to get anything from.
As a commercial, hey, it made me bust out all my old Pokemon cards, so it did its job.
It worked in that sense.
Well, we've caught them all. We've done the most long-winded version of "If you're a fan, you'll love it" ever.
Fans of the genre.
Yep.
So I guess we can say fuck this film.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Anime FMK, the only place where fuck this film is a compliment. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. We will probably be doing more movie stuff like this in the future. We'll see y'all next time.
See ya.